You're listening to The Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
Use your hard-earned money. Learn to protect yourself at asc.alabama.gov. Paid for by the Investor Protection Trust and brought to you by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV, Crimson Tide Kickoff, play-by-play for Alabama sports, and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome into the Wednesday Hub Day edition of the Gary Harris Show for October 16th, 2024. I'm your host, Gary Harris. Chase Brumfeld's alongside, manning the controls, taking your phone calls on the Pinnacle Park at North River hotline at 205-342-9904. We got a jam-packed show for you today. We are loaded. I'm going to track it down for you here and give you the lineup in just a second. But first, I need to let you know, as always, this hour of the Gary Harris Show being brought to you by Steve Swafford and the good folks at Alabama Credit Union, member-owned and not-for-profit. It really is just a better way of banking. I certainly encourage you to find out more by going to their terrific website, alabamacu.com. That's alabamacu.com, your trusted partner for financial success. Embrace financial well-being with Alabama Credit Union. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Some rules and restrictions do apply. See if you're eligible for membership. Then join today and feel good about your money. And put a little extra change in your pocket. All right, here's the lineup for today. Matt Coulter on NASCAR at 9:30. Can't wait for that segment, man. It has been a wild week in NASCAR. They had the Charlotte Roval race over the weekend on Sunday, and to get the field of playoff contenders down to 8. And Joey Logano, who always seems to make it on even years and win a championship, did not make it. He finished 9th. But Alex Bowman's car failed inspection. He was disqualified, and Joey Logano now gets that 8th spot. It's just been crazy. We'll discuss all of that and the chase for the championship with Matt Coulter. Then at 10 o'clock, excited to talk some Bama and Tennessee football with my buddy Dan Harrelson, managing editor of Vols Wire on the USA Today Sports Network. They're in Knoxville. And always love talking with Dan, and he'll give us some scoop on the game, basically from the Tennessee perspective. And then at 10:30, it's Larry the Music Man. Larry Butler joining us from over in Atlanta, talking Southern rock and more, our music segment that we do every week. So we are absolutely loaded with guests. Also, though, as I said, we'll put a priority on your phone calls at 205-342-9904 on the Pinnacle Park at North River hotline. All right, let's get it going. And a lot of news and notes. Somebody asked me the other day why I don't do headlines anymore. And listen, I'll probably do them some. It's just now that we're Fox Sports, we do a headline. We do headlines going right into my show. And, I localize them usually a little more, but a lot of the stuff that's mentioned on Fox Sports headlines are stuff that I was mentioning anyway. So I thought it, kind of got a little repetitive. That's why I haven't been doing them regularly the way that I was for a while. But there are some things that I want to mention. First of all, Davante Adams news broke yesterday that he was going from the Raiders to the Jets to be reunited with his old Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers. But then yesterday afternoon, the Bills needed to make a move. The Bills beat the Jets on Monday night, AFC East rivals, and the Bills needed a wide receiver. Of course, Stephon Diggs left for the Houston Texans before the season. And so the Bills made a move for Amari Cooper, former Crimson Tide standout who has been a great pro, really probably a guy that flies under the radar a little bit, but he has put up incredible numbers, nearly 10,000 yards in receiving and during his career. And he moves on now to his 4th team as the Bills acquired Amari Cooper. I think this is just a great, great pickup for the Bills. Cleveland is going nowhere fast. Coop had a really productive couple of years there in Cleveland, but this is an opportunity now to go to a contender. As I said, the Browns, I might have said the Bills, but the Browns are mired in losing this year. It's just not going to be a good year for the Cleveland Browns. And now he gets an opportunity to go play for a team that probably is the favorite to win the AFC East, and you bring him in to go along with Josh Allen, you got a chance to really increase the productivity of that offense. Down year so far for Coop, 24 catches for 250 yards and 2 touchdowns, but the last 2 years were huge years for him. So he'll probably pick it back up now with getting to Buffalo. But he's a 5-time Pro Bowl selection. In 2023, he set a career high with 1,250 yards receiving. 30 years old, which again is that kind of that magic number age-wise, but he's got some gas in the tank. For his career, 9,736 yards receiving and 62 touchdowns. Really good numbers. Drafted by the Raiders in the first round in 2015. Also played for the Cowboys, the Browns, and now for the Buffalo Bills. So happy for Coop with that opportunity. College football-wise, of course, we've talked yesterday about the big schedule coming up Saturday, including Alabama and Tennessee. And we'll continue to break that game down today as well, as I said, with Dan Harrelson from Vols Wire coming up at 10 o'clock this morning. Also, basketball is a big subject right now, the SEC media tip-off. The men yesterday, the women today. Alabama women ranked in the AP poll for the first time in 25 years. That's a big, big, big deal for the Alabama women, and it's something that they're excited about and should be excited about. This going into the season appears to be Christy Curry's best team, of course, led by Sarah Ashley Barker, who is an All-American candidate. But Alabama is number 24 on the women's side in the AP poll. Of course, they're number 2 on the men's side in the AP poll, so a lot of excitement for basketball. And there should be. There should be, because it's a sport that Alabama has seen its profile raised in both the men and the women. Of course, there was a time under Rick Moody when the women, they went to the Final Four back in '94, as we know. Had some great teams, but then really, really faded. The men throughout history have had really good teams, but never got to the Final Four. Then that happened last year. So we're excited for basketball. If you want to join the conversation, as we said, the number for the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline, 205-342-9904. We would love to hear from you this morning here on the show. Matt Coulter on NASCAR coming up at 9:30. All right, it's 10 minutes after 9. We're going to go get our first time out, get our first break in, and when we come back, we're wide open for phone calls. We'd love to hear from you in regards to this big game between Alabama and Tennessee coming up on Saturday in Knoxville. So let us hear from you, folks. Let's get this show off and running, and we'll be right back with more of the Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 FM, 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama sports.
Thread. Good Wednesday morning. The Tuscaloosa City Schools explaining why it has become an authorizer for charter schools under the city system. Director of Strategic Initiative, Dr. Andrew Mackey, says the system wants to provide additional options as authorized by the state. Several public meetings to outline how that system will work are planned. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage all throughout the day. It's absolutely free. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3.
All-Phase Electric Supply touch every part of what powers your life. Stop by CED in Tuscaloosa, Coleman, and Decatur, or All-Phase Electric Supply in Albertville and Huntsville.
Tuscaloosa's Old Colony Golf Course is an 18-hole championship layout designed by 1976 U.S. Open champion Jerry Pate. Director of Golf John Gray and fitting specialist Bob Montgomery are PGA certified. Mike Shivitz is the head professional and director of the Tuscaloosa Junior Golf Program. Call today to secure a tee time at the Tuscaloosa Championship Golf Course. Everyone can play. 205-562-3201. Old Colony is operated by Para.
If you haven't already, you've got to try Tuscaloosa's unique breakfast, brunch, and lunch concept. Brick and Spoon, downtown Tuscaloosa at Timerson Square. It's fresh food with a Cajun flair featuring a full bar with build-your-own Bloody Marys and mimosas. Open daily, 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. Available for after-hours events, rehearsal dinners, receptions, and birthdays. They offer brunch and lunch catering. Call Brick and Spoon at 205-345-5551 for more information. Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Visit alabamacu.com to learn more. Some rules and restrictions apply. See if you're eligible for membership, then join today and feel good about your money.
Los Tarascos has been serving Mexican favorites like burritos, fajitas, and quesadillas since 1999. Their new location is at 4100 Owen Parkway in Northport. And of course, you can find Los Tarascos in Tuscaloosa at 110 Skyland Boulevard. The bar areas feature big screen television so you can enjoy your favorite sporting events. Los Tarascos features daily happy hour specials. And for the best Mexican cuisine in West Alabama, remember, the name is Los Tarascos with locations in Tuscaloosa and Northport.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Cool and dry today with a sunny sky, the high 62. Rather chilly tonight, clear, the low 39. Maybe some scattered light frost early tomorrow morning. Tomorrow and Friday, sunny both days. The high tomorrow 67, the high Friday at 70. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 45 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You're listening to The Gary Harris Show.
Goal line in, touchdown, Alabama!
On your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9. And streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 FM at 1230 AM WTBC. Phone lines are open if you want to give us a ring on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline 205-342-9904. I mentioned Alabama basketball, SEC media tip-off, men yesterday, women today, and the Crimson Tide yesterday with a big following over there because Alabama is, first of all, it's just up the road in Mountain Brook at the Bohemian Hotel. And then you also add in the fact that Alabama was number 2 in the preseason in the AP poll and a Final 14 from a year ago. And a lot of interest in Alabama basketball. Head coach Nate Oates, joined by All-American guard Mark Sears and guard Latrell Reitzel at the media day yesterday. And Coach Oates, of course, took to the podium. And we want to play some of his audio for you because we've got it. Thanks to Chase for getting it clipped up. And we're going to begin with Coach Oates and his opening comments yesterday to the media there in Mountain Brook.
Thanks, Craig. It's true. RFK Jr. would not be happy with my 7-Eleven I sold in the classroom. So we were not that healthy. And I have 3 girls, so we made plenty of trips to Disney and enjoyed it. But looking forward to talking about our team this year. So I'll open with a quick statement. So we, I think last year we were picked 5th. We've been picked 5th 3 times now. We won the SEC regular season tournament, 2 of those, and made a Final Four in the other one. So I was hoping maybe we get picked 5th again because it's worked out well for us. Our roster's not such that anybody's picking us 5th. So people have asked me, would we rather come in under the radar and surprise people, or, you know, obviously we got picked in the AP poll 2nd, or be picked to win. I'd say I'd much rather have the roster I currently have and deal with where we're picked, and we'll have to create some other type of motivational factors because we won't have a chip on our shoulder from getting picked 5th or whatever. So, but the games still have to get played on the court, and there's some really good teams in this league. You know, look at South Carolina, who was picked to finish last year and ended up tied 2nd with us last year. So I think some of the teams that maybe some people are thinking aren't going to be as good are going to be pretty good. And there's 9 teams ranked in the top 25 in our league, which is more than anybody in the country. I think it speaks to the level of coaching going on in our league and to the level of athletes we've been able to get in the SEC. So we put together a really tough non-conference schedule to prepare us for the tough SEC schedule. You know, we've got 15 of our 31 games will be against teams in the preseason top 25. So it'll get us ready to go, and we should come right out of the gate with a pretty tough schedule. So looking forward to the year, though, so I'll open it up for some questions if you have some.
All right, that's Nate Oates' opening statement. We're going to go through some of his clips since we don't have any phone calls, and I wanted to listen to this myself, and I know Bama fans will find it interesting. This is a question about how tough the competition is in the SEC versus other conferences. Here's Coach Oates' response to that.
People ask, who do I think is going to be challenging the top? And I obviously, you can rattle off some of the ones that picked by the writers, but there's teams that aren't ranked in the top 5 preseason that I think are going to be really tough out. So, I think the league's gotten better and better since I've gotten into the league. It'll be year 6 now, which I can't believe it's been that long, but there's no easy games, particularly road games in the SEC, and I'm that's part of the reason I try to schedule so tough in a non-conference to get us ready for SEC play, and I think we've done that again this year with our non-conference schedule as best we can. There's nothing like going into a place like Auburn. You're not going to replicate that. We are on the road at Purdue, which is going to be a tough place to play, but going into Auburn or Arkansas or Kentucky, Tennessee, there's some really tough road venues with some very good coaches and really good teams in this league.
All right. Nate Oates, always so straightforward. I think a lot of people, when he came here from Buffalo, of course, he's from Wisconsin. Midwest people are really straightforward. And I think sometimes people take him out of context a little bit, but I love listening to him talk and answer questions because he is just, you ask a question, you get an answer. All right. This is a good question that he was asked about when you come off your first ever Final Four. And they'd been knocking on the door under Nate Oates, but they finally made it. Being able to shift the focus and get past that and move on to this season with the idea of getting even more, which means, the national championship. Here's Coach Oates' response on being able to shift from last season to a brand new year.
You're not thinking about that?
We obviously used it in the recruiting to get some of them here, but I don't really want to talk about that much with the team. I kind of told them we had the celebration Friday where we raised the banner and gave out the rings, and the issue is 8 out of our 13 scholarship guys weren't here last year. And that was last year. It's kind of old news. It's great for the program, for the fans, for the university to be able to celebrate it, but has nothing to do with what we've got going on this year. So we're trying to flip the page, move on, not really address it. It was nice. It was great. It's good for our league. It's good for our school, good for our program, but we got to focus on what we got to do this year, and that's where we're trying to get our guys' minds at.
All right, Nate Oates was asked about what he thinks of his team so far. He already said in the opening comments that this roster is loaded, and it is. He was asked, though, about an evaluation of what he's seen so far in practice on this year's Alabama basketball team.
Surprised you about this team in the first few months of practice thus far?
You know what? I don't know if it'd be necessarily surprise. I will say some of the freshmen have been maybe better than anticipated. The first one kind of comes to mind is LeBaron Philon. He's been great, been really good on both sides of the ball. He's pushing our veteran guards, making them better every day in practice, and he's going to get, minutes, some games, significant minutes. So he's been good. Darian Reed, when he's been healthy, he's been really good. His IQ's really high. He's going to contribute. He's smart. He's athletic. He's got great size. Aiden Sherrell's been maybe better than what we thought. And then, even some of the transfers that have come in, just like the leadership, you hope you get really good, high-character guys, and you do enough research, and you try to get those guys. But these guys have been better than even what we thought they were going to be. Chris has been an unbelievable leader. Houston's been great, really good leader. Cliff's an unbelievable guy too, and I think Holloway just wants to get back to playing really good basketball. He's been really good too. So just the kind of the character and leadership of the new guys, and some of the young guys are maybe better than what we thought they were going to be here early.
Okay, we continue to knock it down here with Nate Oates from yesterday at the SEC Media Tip-Off for the men over at the Bohemian Hotel in Mountain Brook. All right, let's get to the next clip. And this is interesting to me. He was asked about John Calipari going from Kentucky to Arkansas, and also his name, Nate Oates, being mentioned as a possible successor to Calipari at Kentucky. Here's Nate Oates on that.
Statement saying, I'm staying here.
Yeah, I mean, my reaction is Cal's one of the best coaches in the history of college basketball, and Arkansas is a program that's got some pride. And, I can't speak for him as to why maybe move, but sometimes just want a fresh start. And I mean, shoot, he's gonna get talent. He's one of the best recruiters to ever coach in college basketball, and he's got talent. He's got a lot of talent there right away. So, he's familiar with the league. He's a great recruiter. Arkansas got good basketball tradition. He made the move, and then that kind of opened the job at Kentucky up. I had signed a contract at Alabama. We were in the process of putting a roster together. There's a lot of speculation out there. We just made the Final Four. I think that was maybe 2 days after. I think it was a Monday of the championship game. So I just thought it was appropriate that instead of everybody asking us and recruiting, it wasn't even like a job offer had happened. I didn't try to act like I'd been off. That wasn't the case. We wanted to get our fan base, the donors that maybe were contributing to collectives. We wanted to get the recruits. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew I was happy at Alabama. We're putting a roster together. We just had a great year, but we think we can be even a lot better next year. Like, let's focus in here. I've got 3 daughters. I'm very comfortable. I love it in Tuscaloosa. And let's just make sure everybody that needs to know knows I'm staying here. So that's kind of why we decided to put that statement out.
Outstanding. All right. We've got 4 more clips. We're going to run one more before we have to go to the break, and then we'll hold the other 3. We possibly may get to 2 more clips. We'll see. This is a question about his thoughts on where the SEC is as a whole and what it means to be highly ranked as a basketball team at a football school. Here's Coach Oates on that.
It's been in the last few years?
Yeah, I think the league's definitely better than it has been. Obviously, adding Texas and Oklahoma to the mix helps us out a lot. 2 very good programs. Texas top 25. I think the coaching in the league's gotten better. I think even before I got in this league, they made a concerted effort to raise the level of basketball here, and I think you're seeing that come to fruition with the level of coaches they've gotten in, with the level of programs they've gotten into, and the level of talent we've had. And you look at the number of NBA draft picks and the athleticism. So, the league's good. It's got more teams in the top 25 than any other league in the country. You got to put together a roster to win in this league. We feel like we've done that. To address the football deal, I think somebody made that comment to me. When we were a couple of years ago, we hit number 1 in the rankings, and maybe at the time football wasn't. I think it's the first time it had ever happened. My answer then, and it kind of still the same. Like, look, the level that the football program at Alabama has been at for an extremely long time, particularly since Coach Saban took over, is ridiculous. So just the amount of times they've been ranked in number 1, top 5 is absurd. We're just trying to get the basketball program up to a championship level. There's 6 programs at Alabama that have won national championships. Basketball is not one of them. We're trying to get it to that level. We feel like we're at a level we can compete for one. It's really hard to win one, but we're still 18 national championships behind football, and there'll be 12 teams going to the playoffs, and I'm assuming that Coach DeBoer is going to have his team in that 12. They look pretty good. When I was at that game against Georgia, I think we see how good they can be, and I don't know where they're ranked. I'm not really paying attention to it. I think what matters is they get in the top 12 at the end of the season and go on a run and try to win a national championship. We're going to try to get our ranking as high as we can, go into the NCAA tournament, make a run, try to win a national championship in basketball as well.
All right, good stuff there from Nate Oates. And we got a few more clips, like I said, that we'll try to get to if time allows later on in the show. But right now, we want to get to our break and come back with Matt Coulter on NASCAR. Before I do, I want to remind you, my good friends at the YMCA are cranking up for fall, man. It's a great time to be at the Y. And, work out hard. Listen, my diet has gone off the rails. I'm just not going to, I'm pretty transparent on this show. I have not been eating well at all. and I'm feeling the effects. I've put on a few pounds, and most of us are going to probably put on a few in this time of the year, football season, holidays, all that. But you know what? You can continue to work out. You can continue to try to get the physical exertion in, and that'll help you. And then when you're ready to crank back, up as far as the diet is concerned, you'll be ahead of the game. So I'm trying to get in there regularly. My knee's been bothering me, not eating well, but still, the YMCA can give you a place to get in there and sweat some. Nothing like a little sweat equity when it comes to feeling better. The YMCA at Tuscaloosa, 2300 13th Street. Get by and see them today. They'll give you a tour and join up and enjoy it the way I have for over 20 years.
Visit us now to save big and discover why so many are switching to BMW. BMW of Tuscaloosa. Take your dreams for a drive.
Since 2011, Billy's Sports Grill, located on Main Avenue in historic downtown Northport, has been serving their legendary signature chicken sandwich, award-winning wings, and handcrafted cocktails. Billy's is also the spot to watch all your favorite sporting events with big screen, high-definition televisions, both dining rooms, at the bar, and outside on 100% satisfaction and appointments set around your schedule. Give us a call for all your steam cleaning needs, 205-553-9460. Houston Hydro Steam. Quality work you can stand on.
Find Tide on Twitter at Tide109 to keep up with show announcements, guests, and our reporters in the field.
And it is time for Matt Coulter on NASCAR. And my gosh, I'm so happy we do this segment. I've had a lot of people tell me they're happy we do this segment. It has been an eventful season for NASCAR. Whether you like the sport, don't like the sport, whether you're a casual or a dedicated fan or someone who just likes to check in every Sunday to see who won the race. It has been an eventful season. We've had a little bit of everything, and now as we cut down from 12 to 8 drivers for the round of 8, 2 more races before we get to the round of 4 and a champion, we couldn't even do that without controversy. Matt, good morning. How are you?
Life's good, man. Hey, I really enjoyed hearing from Oates. That's good stuff. Good little break. We'll take some basketball, then we'll talk some NASCAR. I'm good. How about yourself?
Absolutely. And before we look ahead to Las Vegas, let's recap the Roval, the Bank of America Roval 400. Kyle Larson wins the race. No surprise there. He's been great all year and probably is the favorite at this point to win the championship. So first, just kind of talk about the race and how it played out.
Well, it played out. Kyle Larson just continues to dominate. That's his 6th win of the year.
Wow.
And he's advanced. And I agree with you 100%. If he doesn't win at this point, I think I'd be surprised. But it was typical Roval activity. You know, there were other drivers that competed. I think sometimes we forget about how competitive Chris Bell can be. Your pick, William Byron, finished 3rd.
Yeah, I thought he was going to have a shot, obviously.
But, you know, there came a point there late. Nobody was going to pass that 5 Chevrolet. It wasn't going to happen. My pick, Shane Van Gisbergen, but he did okay. He won the pole. You know?
Yeah,
he was up there.
Yeah. He'll be full-time next year, right, Matt?
Yeah, he's full-time. That's what I was just getting ready to say. So it'll be interesting to see how he does with them. And, you know, he raced Talladega, so he has raced a few spot tracks this year. So it'll be interesting to see how he does in a place like Bristol.
All right, Larson gets the win, but, of course, the big in addition to winning the race was the cut down to 8. And it was Larson, Bell, Reddick, Byron, Blaney, Hamlin, Elliott, and Bowman. Or so we thought.
It was.
And that's what it was coming out of the race. They do inspections. I didn't know how deep they went into the field, but I guess when you're talking about 8 guys advancing to the playoffs, they want to make sure nobody's up to any shenanigans. And Bowman's car failed inspection due to weight. And he was disqualified, and that moved the 22, even year Joey, who did not make it into the field. And now I guarantee those other drivers are looking over their shoulder at the 22 because he's been given a second life. And we know on even years, I guess it's because he's a 22, an even number, he can close, and all of a sudden Logano's in and Bowman's out. I guess the fact that they're not going to appeal this, the 48's not going to appeal, tells me that, they weren't shocked by this finding. What do you know about it, Matt?
Well, I read up on it a little bit this morning, and, Jeff Gordon runs that crew now, runs all those teams. And he said, it's all on me. We made a mistake. I guess a lighter car to throw it through those turns gave him a decisive advantage because it's like you just said a minute ago, Gary, they didn't even appeal it. And, you're talking about not appealing something that would get you in the race.
Yeah, get you in the playoff, yeah.
And, it must have been just, egregious, as Ricky Bobby would say. So that put him out and put Logano in, and I'm with you. You better watch out for that 22 Mustang moving forward. It's kind of like, a baseball game, power hitter pops up in the foul territory and somebody drops it. Oops, got a second chance, and then they hit it out of the park. So we'll see. I think Logano will be certainly someone to be reckoned with, but
he's not a favorite.
Larson.
Yeah. Well, here's the good thing I like about this, and nothing against Alex Bowman. He's a nice driver. But for the playoff, Logano's a lightning rod type of guy. He's a love him or hate him type of guy. And to have the 22 in there, and it gives you a couple of Fords with Blaney, his teammate. And I just like the mix. You've got again, you earn your way in here, so I wouldn't, anybody that made it in. But this is a pretty packed final 8, man. When you're talking about Larson, you're talking about Elliott, you're talking about Blaney, you're talking about Logano, you're talking about Hamlin, Byron. You're talking about superstars, and you're talking about guys who have the name recognition. Obviously, Tyler Reddick's had an unbelievable year. Christopher Bell. This is a pretty much, you have your long shots and your underdogs, but this is pretty much a star-studded field, Matt.
Well, I'd like to see Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski in there, but you can't fit them all. There's only 8, and it's a good field. You got some real veterans. You got your Larsons and your Hamlins, and then you got some of the young guns too. So we'll see. And I was reading something about one of the other drivers that said, I don't care if there's 8 left there or what. I'm going for it. I'll try my butt off to win this race. So you're going to have that factor too, because we've had so many non-playoff drivers win since we went to the 16. So we'll see. It'll be a challenge as they go to Vegas.
All right, let's get to Vegas. The South Point 400. Is this a mile and a half, Matt?
Yeah, it's a mile and a half oval. It's kind of like those standard ovals that they built here in the last 30 years or so. It's got some banking in the corners. It's 20 degrees, 9 degrees on the straightaway, and it is an asphalt track. And, it hasn't been around all that long, but it's got some history. And I think a lot of the history initially when they built this track belonged to Kurt and Kyle Busch, but it's been a while since either one of those has been to victory lane there.
All right, so that's a pretty quick track report. It's kind of a nondescript track. It is in Vegas, though, so a lot of excitement there. Yeah. Matt has I'm just checking Jeff Payton's notes here. Matt, you have the first pick, so let's go ahead and get to our picks. And again, let's remind people this is what's interesting. We're down to 8 drivers now, so we're down to the nitty gritty. You're down to you got 2 races, and then you cut it down to 4 for the championship race at Phoenix. So there's no time to fool around. But yet you still have these non-playoff drivers who have made it clear, they're not backing off necessarily the way they have in years past, although that now that we're down to 8, well, before you get your pick, let me ask you that. Now that we're down to 8 drivers, do you think the non-playoff drivers will be a little more respectful in regards to how they run these last 3 races?
I'm glad you asked that question because I was thinking about it earlier. Even though I said just a minute ago that there are some drivers that I can't remember exactly who it was that said they were going to race hard. It's probably Chastain. But I think that at this point, we're probably, we've only got 4 races left now. But I think that you're going to see all playoff drivers win from here out. So I'll put it that way.
Okay. Well, then you get the first pick. So I know you're picking one of the playoff drivers. Which one's it going to be?
Well, it's got to be Larson. I'm going to take the chalk here. He won earlier this year at Vegas. He's won the last 2. I think he's won 3 of the last 7. So, I'm down 4-2. I need to win.
No, absolutely. Clearly the pick. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. I mean, he is.
Well, how about you, Gary Harris?
Well, I knew you were going to take him, so I trying to figure it out here. I mean, anything that's a mile and a half or longer. Although really the super speedways are where the Fords have done well. I'm sentimental toward Logano because of the fact that he has squeezed his way in now, and it'd be just like the 22 to take this mulligan and do something with it. And I certainly think that he is. I think there's a reason he's won a couple championships. I think he's got the mentality, and not that all these guys don't. But look at Denny Hamlin. There's just something about certain guys are closers. You know what I mean? There's certain guys that have that. There's been great drivers to never win a championship. Hamlin's one of them. And there's just something about the 22 that I think he knows how to navigate these type of circumstances, and they really should have been in anyway. They had a lot of bad racing luck. You remember, you go back to the Austin Dillon situation and a couple of other times that they were in line. I just think that you throw him a mulligan, tell him to hit another T-ball after he shanks one into the pot, the lake. He's the type of guy the next time he's going 315 down the middle. So I'm going to take the 22, kind of a underdog type pick. How about that?
If I couldn't remember who picked first, and I had to look it up too, but I was already pretty sold on taking Kyle Larson because that was just the pick. I would have done the exact same thing you did and take 22 just because what a momentum shift in their season, and it'd be just like them to go out there and win it. So we'll see. It's 1:30 Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, 1:30 Sunday afternoon. This one is on NBC. So, in fact, all the races from here on out are on the main NBC. So you've got, you pointed it out. I think I said 2 races. You've got Las Vegas. You've got Homestead, which I still like Homestead as the final race.
So do the drivers.
Yeah.
The drivers love that track. Then you got
Martinsville, and then you get down to the 4 drivers, and then you have the 1 race at Phoenix. So 3 races left in the round of 8. Then they cut it down to 4, and then they run for all the marbles at Phoenix on November the 10th.
Yep. It's going to be a heck of a finish. By the way, got to throw this in when we close up. It is Hate Tennessee week. So
yeah, I was going to ask you. I was going to get your thoughts on the 3rd Saturday in October for sure.
It's just, our buddy who's long since passed away, Al Browning, wrote a great book, 3rd Saturday in October, and here it comes. And I can't wait. Tennessee's got that explosive offense, and man, has their defense gotten better over the last couple of years. So I hadn't even looked at a line. I would figure Tennessee's favorite.
Bama was 2.5 and went up to 3 yesterday. I haven't checked it today. It's, again, these odds makers are setting those point spreads based on perception of getting an equal amount of play on each side, and Alabama still carries a lot of weight. Because I'm with you. If I were just setting the line on based on what I think, I would put it Tennessee at -3 and not Alabama at -3. But
me too. That's why I asked. I hadn't even looked.
Yeah,
so,
but there's a reason it is.
That's interesting, but this game has some interesting twists, and as long as that Crimson Tide comes out all right, my weekend will be just dandy.
And of course, you'll be here on Tide 100.9 with some coverage. Why don't you go ahead and plug that?
Well, yeah, we do the pregame show from Grandstand, the postgame from Walk-Ons, and we've really been having some good turnouts. We did it at 6 a.m. this past Saturday, and when I pulled up, there were people at Grandstand. Now, they couldn't serve until 6, but at 6 o'clock, there were people doing lemon drops and drinking White Claws. It was crazy.
Mercy sakes alive.
I hadn't done that in a long time, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. You're
you're a 21-year-old college student. Heck, go for it.
Yeah, it's
great.
different. Yeah, total different vibe. Well, good stuff, Matt. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Gary. Roll Tide.
All right, Matt Coulter on NASCAR. It's 9:45 here on the Gary Harris Show. Friday, our Bama football trivia contest presented by T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery University Mall. I'll be live at the Innisfree Irish Pub, but we will have a print. Tom is going to get me in fact, he just sent me the picture. It is the Rocky Stop print, which is a great, beautiful print from the 2005 Alabama-Tennessee game. Roman Harper forcing that fumble that we know led Alabama to a victory over the Tennessee Vols. This is the Daniel Moore print, Rocky Stop. So looking forward to giving that one away. That's a big one, because that was a time when this rivalry was going the other way. Tennessee had the upper hand, and that was Mike Shula as the head coach. Alabama was undefeated, but it looked like they were about to lose, and then Roman Harper, now an analyst for the SEC Network, put the hat on the ball, popped it out. Alabama recovered. I'm looking at the print right now, and I see some guys that you're going to remember well. Roman Harper, obviously with the hit. Freddie Roach, who's now the defensive line coach. There's Mark Anderson, Wallace Gilberry. So really nice print. Rocky Stop. Alabama beats Tennessee 6-3. And what a defensive game. And Daniel Moore print. We're going to be giving that away on Friday, courtesy of T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery in the University Mall. All right, it's 9:47. We're going to take a timeout. And been a little slow on the phone calls today, which is surprising to me. We were cranking up the calls on Monday and Tuesday, but maybe we'll get some here in this last segment before we close out the first hour. And then we got Dan Harrelson talking Vols and Tide in hour number 2. We'll be right back with more of the Gary Harris Show. You stay with us.
On the next Inside the Locker Room with Coach Wimp Sanderson and Barry Sanderson.
Tune in Thursday, 7:30. We'll talk with J.C. Sherbert. We'll go around the SEC with J.C. In the second hour, we'll go up to Knoxville, Tennessee. We'll talk to Russell Bibbin. We'll find out what the Tennessee Volunteers are doing to get ready for the Alabama Crimson Tide to come up. We'll also take your phone calls throughout the show. Everything's brought to you by Yellowwood. If it doesn't have that yellow tag.
For better living at First and Main, visit firstandmaincondos.com or call 205-657-7465. Mention you heard about us on the radio and receive 1 month free rent.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Cool and dry today with a sunny sky, the high 62. Rather chilly tonight, clear, the low 39. Maybe some scattered light frost early tomorrow morning. Tomorrow and Friday, sunny both days. The high tomorrow is 67, the high Friday at 70. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 49 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Covering University of Alabama sports, as well as the national and local scene as well. The Gary Harris Show, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 9:50. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show here on Tide 100.9 FM, 1230 AM WTBC. Gary Harris, Chase Brumfield, Dan Harrelson from the Vols Wire coming up at 10 o'clock. We're going to jump out here, though, on the hotline right now, presented by Pinnacle Park at North River, and talk to my pal, former Bama baseballer, Robbie Glenn, of course, heads up Striker Strong, and fan of the show, and we always love hearing from Robbie. What's up, buddy?
Hey, Gary. How you doing, buddy?
Doing well.
Yeah, enjoying this nice, cool weather when I come out of Children's Hospital.
Just absolutely awesome. Just inject it into my veins for the rest of the fall. I don't want to go back to hot. I want to keep it nice and cool, dude.
Yeah, I don't want the ice. I don't want the freezing, but I love this right here. This
Me
is
too.
Nice.
Perfect. Yep.
You can still be out on the golf course playing.
Oh, absolutely. It's best golf weather you can have.
And here it is, Tennessee Hate Week. I'm ready for the game. And I sent you that video this morning of back when I was at Bama.
Yeah, I watched it.
And that Phillip Doyle kick was something. And, you know, back then, you know, coming from a small town of Pace, Florida, and all, you know, seeing all that and seeing the kick, and we celebrated. And I swear, I knew how far Knoxville was. And Phillip Doyle ended up in our apartment, and it seemed like it was an hour later he was there celebrating with us, and I was so confused. I was like, how the heck is he back here? Like, he's partying with us, and he still had tape or gauze on his mouth. You know, he got his mouth busted on that kick. They roughed the kicker, but he still made it.
Well, you know what? Of course, you're athlete here, but you're right. When these games are over, Robbie, they get them. You know, they do the media. They get them on the bus and get them to the airport and get them home. Man, they don't fool around.
And they drive straight out on the runway, and they're back. I mean, I know it wasn't an hour, but it was like 2 hours later. He was in the apartment with us. I was just amazed. I was like, wow.
Well,
and then
because that was the game that Lee Corso said it looked like an NFL team versus a high school team. And nobody gave Alabama a chance in that game.
And that was awesome. That turned the corner for them right there. I think they had a good rest of the year. So, anyways, but yeah, I'm looking forward to Tennessee. I hope, like everybody, just confused on this Bama team. All the talent in the world just seems to just not be focused for some reason. I don't know what it is. But
the great thing about Alabama, though, so often, and it's not often, but when it does happen, I don't care who the coach is. It seems like some of the best Alabama performances come when people are doubting them. And it's just something about the history of the program, the pride and performance that, and there's a lot of people doubting Alabama right now. So maybe that's the juice they need, Robbie, to go up there and take care of some business.
Yeah, it could be a lot like we saw against Georgia. Everybody was doubting that one too. Georgia's going to come in and show them who's the boss at their own place. And first half we dominated.
That's right.
So I hope we do it too. It's not like Tennessee's playing great ball either, so they're probably going to try and figure it out too. I think it's going to be a great game, and not to mention that basketball game Friday after hearing Nate Oates. I mean that's awesome. I mean,
Nate Oates is. It brings a football persona to a basketball. Not that basketball coaches aren't intense. I mean, there's some of the most intense coaches on this, but I'm just saying the way he talks, he brings like a physicality to basketball. He just let's get out there and let's mix it up, man. He gets you fired up. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, he does. I love it. He gets right in his players' faces and they respond. Yeah. So a lot of these players nowadays don't do that, but they do to him. I love it.
What's give us a striker update? I know he's still at Children's, but you had put out on social media that he's improving.
Yeah, he had a very good night. Last night was the first one he's had a good night all together, so we're hoping today it continues. We still haven't got back to full feeds. They're trying to get those going slow without him making him sick to his stomach and having to start over from square one, because if he throws up, then you have a respiratory issue. So yesterday was good, no problems, and they increased his speed, and he slept through the night, no problems, and today was good. I waited to the doctor's rounds for me to get out and go check some jobs. So just hope today goes good, and, hopefully, we won't go home. Maybe we'll be home by Saturday if he continues, and we can watch the game there. If not, I'll be watching at Children's again. But he just got to keep getting stronger. Bless his heart. He's a fighter.
No doubt about that.
Keep throwing stuff at him, and he keeps smiling. He still smiles even when he's sick.
No doubt about the fact that he's a fighter just since I've known him and what he's dealt with, and just keeps on keeping on. That's great. Well, thank you, Robbie, for the update, man.
Thank you, Gary. Roll Tide.
Have a great day. All right, it's 9:55 here on the Gary Harris Show, and we're going to wind it down. This hour has been brought to you by Alabama Credit Union. Member-owned and not-for-profit. It's just a better way of banking. I encourage you to find out more about Alabama Credit Union. Discover the heart and soul of our member-owned credit union, empowering our members, enriching our community. That's our mission. Find out more at alabamacu.com. That's alabamacu.com, and become a member today. You certainly won't regret it. I know I love being a member of Alabama Credit Union. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this first hour. On the other side of the break, when we come back, it'll be hour number 2, and we will go to Knoxville to visit with Dan Harrelson from Vols Wire and get the scoop there from the Tennessee side of things. And Dan, always a great guest, and we'll break it down. This is a huge game because it's Alabama, Tennessee, but also with the playoff implications, SEC implications. The winner is going to be in good shape. The loser is going to be running uphill. We'll have that for you. Plus, we'll have Larry the Music Man at 10:30. More of your phone calls as well. Hour number 2 of the Gary Harris Show is on the way.
also offer custom screen printing. Let Eyecatchers print shirts for your next event. 345-7762. Eyecatcher Screen Printing and Gifts, where getting seen becomes an art.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Nick Cope.
The Yankees have taken a 2-0 series lead on the Guardians in the ALCS. 6-3 the final Tuesday night in the Bronx, and Aaron Judge had his biggest swing of the postseason.
Judge hits a high fly to center. Back goes Thomas on the track near the wall. She's gone! Aaron Judge hit the ball so high you wondered. It came down in Monument Park. It's a Judgian blast. All rise. Here comes the Judge.
Yankees Radio Network, Judge's first home run of the postseason. Game 3 is Thursday in Cleveland. And Serena Williams posted on social media that all is okay after having a benign cyst the size of a small grapefruit removed from her neck. The 23-time Grand Slam champ turned 43 last month.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Cool and dry today with a sunny sky, the high 62. Rather chilly tonight, clear, the low 39. Maybe some scattered light frost early tomorrow morning. Tomorrow and Friday, sunny both days. The high tomorrow is 67, the high Friday at 70. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 49 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Here we go, hour number 2 of the Gary Harris Show right here on Tide 100.9 FM at 1230 AM WTBC. I'm Gary Harris. Chase Brumfeld alongside. Good first hour in the books, and we're going to talk Bama, Tennessee, kicking off this second hour with Dan Harrelson, friend of the show from Vols Wire, USA Today Network there in Knoxville, and going to break it down for us. Hey, good morning, Dan. How's it going, buddy?
I'm doing well. Hope you guys are doing well. It should be interesting rest of the week leading up to the game. Should be an interesting game also, considering Tennessee Bama's kind of had a similar type season so far. So always a lot of fun to see this game kick off, and just kind of looking forward to it.
Yeah, you already kind of touched on it. I think after Tennessee went to Norman and beat Oklahoma handily, and Alabama beat Georgia, I don't think either one of these teams' fan bases expected that they would have a loss. I think both fan bases expected they'd be undefeated going into this game, but that's not the way it played out. Tennessee got tripped up at Arkansas and was fortunate to win at home against Florida. Alabama got tripped up at Vanderbilt, was fortunate to win home against South Carolina. And I hate to call this an elimination game because technically it isn't, but let's be honest. The loser of this game's running uphill the rest of the season, and the winner's in pretty good shape. So in addition to being the third Saturday in October, the rivalry, weather's going to be awesome, all that goes with the game without these implications. But this is a big-time football game in regards to where these two teams want to go, right, Dan?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and you mentioned the weather. The weather, we finally got that first taste of fall weather the last couple of days here, and I think it's going to lead into the game. I think we're still going to have that this weekend for the game, so it'd be kind of nice. But, yeah, I do think this is an elimination-type game only because really, even if Alabama loses this, I don't have the schedule pulled up in front of me, but I feel like beating Georgia, although you do have a loss to Vanderbilt, I feel like Alabama still would be in this type thing, even with the loss. I don't know why, but I think they could potentially win out. I'd have to go back and look at the schedule there, but I know Alabama's got a tough one to end it with Oklahoma and Auburn, obviously. Some two big games.
Yeah, and they still have to go to LSU, too.
That's right. That's the one I was thinking. Of course, no Ole Miss this year. But, yeah, it's huge. I mean, Tennessee, if you don't lose to Arkansas, you could lose to Alabama and Georgia and still pretty much get in. So that was a huge loss for Tennessee not take care of business there. But in all fairness, they were a little bit banged up even last week against Florida on the offensive line. So I think if Tennessee can ever get the tackles worked out offensively, I think that could possibly get this offense going a little bit more, along with this front seven on the defense that's been really good this year.
Yeah, let's stay with the offense because you're right. The defense has been consistent. This offense came out like, a juggernaut, and people were talking about, some historic numbers, and Nico Iamaleava was looking like what he is, a very talented quarterback, but did not face a lot of adversity. That's changed the last couple of weeks. Arkansas and Florida turned up the pressure. He looked rattled at times. He's made mistakes. Now, again, he's a young quarterback. I get it, but is there a blueprint out there now that says, hey, if you can get in this guy's grill, he'll have some errors. Where does that stand with Iamaleava in terms of leading this offense? They've been shut out the last two first halves of games against Arkansas and Florida. Where's this offense at right now?
Yeah, so it really started to change with that Oklahoma game. And I think Josh Heupel called one of his better games to get in, get out, because he kind of knew where that game was going if he tried to throw the ball a little bit more. Ended up winning that with 25-15. But you're right, the last 2 weeks, no points in the first half. But it really goes back to that OU game because with Brent Venables being the defensive guy, he started using some odd fronts against Tennessee's offense, and that's kind of carried on past that game at Arkansas. I believe Coach Williams, their defensive coordinator, really tight with guys like Kevin Steele. He started using the odd front, and then, of course, Austin Armstrong, who I believe spent a year or two at Alabama when Coach Saban was there. DC at Florida, he started doing that a little bit last week. So it's definitely been a change-up thrown against Tennessee's offense, but the same token, if Tennessee can get the left and right tackles with John Campbell and the LSU transfer Lance Hurd in position just to be stable with this running game, I think that can also open up the passing game because they do have a plethora of wide receivers. It's just nobody's like really standing out right now, or even having a little bit of time to get open. So I go back to that. I think defensive coordinators have done a tremendous job the last 3 games. And that's definitely shown with Tennessee's offense. And it kind of reminds me, from an Alabama perspective, looking back at all those Joe Tons teams where the defense was really, really good, but there was no offensive help. And it's kind of like that right now. But I think the difference now, you have a guy like Josh Heupel, who once you can get the offensive line under control, I think they'll be able to do something and maybe to make a run to end out this year. Because if you win this Alabama game, if the schedule is a lot better, the only tough game left is Georgia. I mean, obviously you ended at Vandy. Who knows how that could look at this point. But they're in position. If you can just beat Alabama, lose to Georgia, have a really, really good shot of making the first college football playoff appearance for Tennessee.
All right, now to the defense because they have been solid all year and quite frankly, gave themselves a chance to win at Arkansas, and I thought won the game against Florida in that first half when Florida had every opportunity to really almost put the game away, and the Tennessee defense just kept bowing up and would not let it happen with a little assist from Billy Napier, who I think must be trying to get fired. But nonetheless, this Tennessee defense has been outstanding the entire year. Now they lose their leading tackler Peely, but what makes this, in addition to talent, but what makes this Tennessee defense so good?
Yeah, it's the front seven. I mean, honestly, I still don't think the secondary's been tested a lot, and I think we'll probably see that Saturday. If I'm Kalen DeBoer, I try to test it if I have enough time to get things off, or even have Jalen Milroe kind of roll out, kind of create some open space and get it to guys like Ryan Williams. But, yeah, 3 plays all season long that Tennessee's given up 30-plus yards. One was a 30-yard rush. The other was a 46 and a 30-yard pass. That's tied for fewest in FBS with Army, Nebraska, Texas. So pretty good company there. But I would like to see how they kind of respond to somebody like a Ryan Williams, because what I've noticed from Alabama this year, of course I'm not watching every play like you guys are, but I've noticed, especially against Wisconsin in the Georgia game, the good thing about Kalen DeBoer, he likes the underneath stuff, and he kind of sets that up for explosive plays like a Ryan Williams on the outside. So I think Tennessee will have to be really disciplined, and I think the Florida game was actually a perfect game for that because all the underneath stuff and all the motion and everything that goes on with Billy Napier's offense to kind of get them a little bit more disciplined, especially playing back at home last week for the first time since September 14th. So I do think the Florida game was a really good opportunity to get better. But you do have guys, like you mentioned, Keenan Peely out for the season. He was playing really, really well and had the in-helmet communication there, so they got to figure that out. Josh mentioned this week that Arian Carter, a younger guy, linebacker, or another younger guy, Jeremiah Thielander, could have that green dot for that in-helmet communication. So that could be a factor, too, going into this game, just knowing what Kalen can do on offense.
All right, the matchup, again, we've talked about what a big game it is, obviously just for the fact it's Alabama, Tennessee, and we know what happened up there 2 years ago. But still, that was one win. Tennessee's lost 16 of the last 17 in this rivalry. So in addition to the stakes, in addition to all that's going on with the game, I know that game 2 years ago will be remembered forever, but it's important that Tennessee, from the Tennessee perspective, I think especially with a first-year head coach in Kalen DeBoer, win this game in terms of rivalry impact too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the last time Tennessee won back-to-back home games at Neyland Stadium against Alabama was 04-06, before obviously Saban went on that huge run his first year in 07 up until 22. But to be honest with you, nobody's really even talking about that game this week or kind of leading up to it. Everybody's just around here is just trying to figure out the offense. That's kind of like the storylines, talk radio, all that good stuff. But I think it's going to be an excellent game. I can see this thing go 6-3, like 05, 51-43, like years past, or I could see it somewhere in the 20s. It's going to be very interesting to see how this thing plays out. But you are right. It would not be a good look for Josh Heupel to continue to have a downward spiral, if you will, offensively, even though the defense is kind of holding its own to make or break the season right now. But to lose to a first-year head coach after losing to Vanderbilt, that's not going to sit well with a lot of people, especially going back to what we were referring to as an elimination type game. So, yeah, I mean, there's probably a little bit more pressure, if you will, on the Tennessee side, just because it's a home game. You need this to really continue a championship type season, to at least play for that. So I could, like I said, I can just see this game going so many different ways on both sides.
The connection between the two head coaches, and I kind of giggled at Heupel this week at his press conference when he said there start many of us from South Dakota talking about head coaches, but it's not, obviously you don't think college football and think South Dakota, but here you are, two head coaches at two of the most prominent programs in college football are from the state of South Dakota. They've got that connection. Obviously, they're friendly with each other, so it's a little different situation than it is when they coach against anybody else, because that rare connection, both being from South Dakota. I think that's kind of a sidebar story, but it's pretty neat that Alabama head coaches from South Dakota, the Tennessee head coach. With all the Southern football tradition, they've got two head coaches from South Dakota. How about that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I know Josh has been asked about it a couple times. I think they've crossed paths with each other, but I think they grew up like 100-something miles away from each other. But like you said, South Dakota, you don't really kind of view that as a hotbed for especially college football head coaches, especially at places like Alabama and Tennessee. But Josh mentioned that they really didn't cross paths too much, and since they've been in the head coaching profession, they have a little bit more. But growing up, they didn't really cross too many paths there. But it is definitely interesting to see two of those top guys on both sidelines for the third Saturday in October.
Dan Harrelson with us from Vols Wire there in Knoxville. All right, let's break it down in terms of how you think this game is going to play out, and who do you think comes out on top?
I really haven't decided on a pick yet. I mean, like I said, I can see this thing going so many different ways, but I do think for Tennessee's sake, I would try to still have Dylan Sampson heavily involved early. The guy's got 15 rushing touchdowns, school record in the season's 18, going back to, I think, like the General Neyland days. So pretty good company there and a heck of a start through 6 games. But also with the center, Cooper Mays, a senior, he's really came on he had a hernia injury that started off last year, missed a few games, but ever since then, I think he's got 20 straight games without allowing a sack. But it'll be interesting to see how quick Josh kind of goes away from the run game and kind of tries to air this thing out, or at least see what Alabama's defense gives them. Because I honestly think he would take a game like the Alabama-Vandy or even Alabama-Georgia. I think he thinks that he could probably get the pass game going just a little bit more. I haven't seen a lot of too much push from the defensive front on the Alabama side. So maybe he can think he has a little bit more time to work with. But then again, it's Alabama, Tennessee, so anything can change up, especially in the first part of the game. But I do think it could potentially turn into an offensive game, just because sometimes these top games you think they'll go low scoring. Could start to see a little bit more improvement there. But definitely have my eyes on really see how the early part of the game kind of works itself out. And then, of course, Alabama on offense be interesting to see how Ryan Williams contains, or Tennessee's defense will try to early contain the underneath stuff and have an emphasis on the run game, the pass game, the shallow stuff.
Dan, we appreciate it, man. And for those out there listening, that you guys, of course, strong connections to Alabama as well. But if they want to follow your coverage and check in on the Vols, how do they do it?
Yeah, VolsWire.com and then online at Dan Harrelson.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, Dan Harrelson from Vols Wire, breaking it down from the Tennessee perspective. Alabama and Tennessee this Saturday afternoon, a little after 2:30 at Neyland Stadium on ABC. All right, we're going to take a time out here on the program, and when we come back, we're wide open for phone calls. We got Larry the Music Man coming up at 10:30, but love to hear from some of you folks out there, and I'll also get around to trying to check the app messages as well. I got to do a better job of that, but we're wide open for phone calls in this next segment on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline 205-342.
To me, but I knew one of you was my soulmate. Ah, the scent of Gain Flings. Try Gain Flings with OxyBoost and Febreze.
Alabama Crimson Tide lives right here.
Down to the pylon. Touchdown, Alabama.
On Tide 100.9.
Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show here on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC. College football last night. That's right. We've got college football going on every night of the week. And we had an in-state game, a big game, a rivalry game. And South Alabama has kind of been up and down this year. They lost their first two, came back and blew out Northwestern State and had a big win at App State, and then lost to LSU, then lost a game to Arkansas State, a close one that I know felt like they should have won. But they came back last night and beat Troy 25-9. So South Alabama is 3-4 on the season, and we got a big win last night, bragging rights win against Troy. All right, let's jump out on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline and welcome in our pal Philip. Hey, Philip, what's going on, man?
Hey, Gary, who did Dan pick? Did he make a pick?
He never picked. He kind of sidestepped around it and said he wasn't ready to make a pick yet.
Yeah, he did. Well, I thought I missed it, but I apparently did not miss that. But anyway, Gary, I tell you, there's so many good games now coming up over the next few weeks, and they're all critically important too. Even even looking towards next week, Memphis has got a big game next week. They're it takes a lot of looking, but they're still in the running. Teams like that are still in the running.
No, there's a lot of stuff happening. And, I tell you something that's kind of flying under the radar. For some reason, no one is talking about the service academies. Both Army and Navy are unbeaten and look like great football teams, and they're going to play at them. One of those teams, and I think it would be awesome if one of those teams got into the playoff.
I think there's a very realistic chance that could happen, especially if one of those teams can beat Notre Dame, and it's only going to take one of them. Now, they're going to, they'll meet later in the year at the end of the season, and that'll be a loss for one of them. But if one of those teams can avoid two losses and one of those wins is an upset win over over Notre Dame, then I think they're in, because Navy's schedule, they've got Charlotte, Notre Dame, they've got I think Air Force, USF, Tulane, and East Carolina. And Army's got East Carolina, North Texas, UTSA, Air Force, and Notre Dame. So it's really interesting for them. And Boise State's still in this thing. UNLV's still in this thing. Hey, Syracuse and Duke are still in this thing.
Sure. Absolutely. At this point, listen, man, we haven't really narrowed it down yet. I mean, you're halfway through the season, and a lot can change. Basically everybody's about 6 games in, and a lot can change, or 7 games in, 6 or 7 games in with either 5 or 6 left to play, and a lot can change over the second half of this season, man. The college football landscape as it looks right now on October the 16th, by, say, November the 16th, a month from now, could be completely different. So a lot's going to be decided in the next 4 or 5 weeks. I promise you that. And some of it won't be decided until the very end. All right, because I'm with you. I think there's going to be, you got those top 4 spots that are going to be taken care of by the conference champions from the Power 4 conferences. But after that, man, I think it's going to be, and you're going to have a lot of people crying, wish we had a 16-team playoff, which is coming. But there's going to be some schools that get left out. Everybody talked about, when you go from 4 to 12, you'll fix that. You're going to have a lot of teams that are sitting there when those 12 teams are announced, they're going to say, and we should have been in. And you're going to have 3 or 4 teams that are, crying that there's not a 16-team playoff, and rightfully so, because there's still going to be some deserving teams left out.
Yeah. Oh, you're exactly right. And I kind of hate to see it go to 16, to tell you the truth.
Well, initially, I was against it. I wanted an 18 playoff because I don't like the idea of a bye. I don't like the idea that you're in the playoff, but you got to play an extra game and somebody else gets to sit. So with that in mind, now I'd rather go to 16 because I'd rather everybody just play. If you got 16, you go from 16 to 8 to 4 to 2. You know what I mean? And you really don't even have to, it won't even take an extra week because, like I said, we already got buys going on. So I'm now for a 16-team playoff because I don't like the idea that 4 teams, I don't care if they win their conference or not, get to have a bye. I'd rather everybody just play. And that's what they do in all the other classifications anyway, is go with 16. So if you're going to go to 12, I would have rather seen 8, Philip, and stay at 8. But if you're going to go to 12, then you might as well go to 16, in my opinion.
Yeah. Gary, one of the things I like about your show is the versatility and how you can quickly go from subject to subject. And one thing I want to mention, and I think this would be an interesting little concept for Alabama as far as the marketing goes, because I love marketing and advertising. But, a lot of people have talked about Coach DeBoer's shirts and pants and all that stuff over the last few weeks. I think it'd be kind of cool, and I think it would be a hit if Nike came out, because he obviously is all about comfort, and I would be too if I was a coach. I think it'd be cool if Nike came out with sort of a muted style of houndstooth hoodie pullover for him.
Well, I will tell you this. Nike has as good a marketing people as there are in the country. So if you thought of it, which I think I'm not disagreeing with you one iota, I have to think, because it's a good idea, I have to think that somebody there is already thinking about a way to market him for sideline wear, and maybe this show is on nationally because of the stream and the app and the podcast, maybe somebody will get wind of it, because you're right. Nike never turns down a marketing opportunity.
Yeah, and we shouldn't either. But the reason I mention it is because of what Coach Oates has done to embrace what Coach Sanderson implemented and originated in Tuscaloosa with the plaid. And Coach Oates uses that look quite a bit in his attire when he's coaching. So he's adjusted. He's done that as an homage to Wimp, I would think. Plus, it looks sharp. But I think it would be kind of cool if they came out with a muted, sort of a black on gray hooded sweatshirt that Coach DeBoer could wear. Hell, I think it'd be a hit.
You might be right, Philip. You might be onto something, man. Something to think about for sure.
Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, that's why I love the show, and I appreciate you letting me call.
Well, I appreciate you being a loyal listener, man, and you're one of our best. Thank you, Philip.
Thank you, man.
All right, it is 10:27 here on the Gary Harris Show, and it's Wednesday, which means it's karaoke night tonight at Who's Q and Brew over off of Highway 82 in the Northridge Center. And I'm telling you now, they're doing it right. I mean, starts around 7:30. And, of course, you got great food, great beverages, you got specials. But karaoke is a blast. I'm going to take off one night. Don't know when, but I'm going to do it. And I'm going to get over there and be a part of it. But I'd love for you to be a part of it tonight at Who's Q and Brew. Shanae is the karaoke with Shanae. She's the one running the program from 7:30 until 9:30 tonight at Who's Q and Brew. Enjoy great barbecue, great drink specials, and karaoke tonight.
Buffet.com or call 205-810-8888. The all-new Child's Country Buffet opening soon on Skyler Boulevard. Join us for a meal to remember.
You see him on WVUA 23 covering sports and on Tider Insider TV on Tuesday nights. Don't miss a minute of the Gary Harris Show. Weekdays from 9 to 11 on Tide 100.9.
All right, 10:32. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show, and it's time for Larry the Music Man. Larry Butler from Atlanta, Georgia. Terrific musician, longtime performer on the road and in the studio. Has played with some of the best musicians in the world, and we kind of stumbled into this segment a couple of months ago. Larry was a caller to the show in regards to big Bama football fan too, but we started talking a little bit of music, which I do from time to time, and the next thing you know, we're talking about it every week. Hey, Larry, good morning. Let me try that again. Go ahead now, Larry. Give it another go. Larry, you there? Larry. I don't know what happened, Chase. I punched him through, and Larry, you there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, got him now. I couldn't hear you for a minute. All right.
My phone did something different I've never seen. Anyway, I think I fixed it.
All right, yeah, it must have been on your end because we're good. We're good here. All right, well, good morning, buddy.
Man, good morning. What a great song. We'll start over again. What a great song to lead the segment.
Yeah, going to the song, Marshall Tucker Band, and one of the best for sure. So, kind of where you going this morning?
Well, Gary, I'll tell you where we're going to go, and I'm probably not going to be able to do it all, cramming in the segment, but Sunday will be the 46-year anniversary of the Skinner plane crash, and I'd kind of like to dedicate this show to that little old band from Jacksonville.
Absolutely. Yeah, makes sense. Mm-hmm.
I want to put some, if people are interested in really knowing what happened on the crash, I'm friends with Gene Odom. He was a longtime friend of Ronnie Van Zant, and he was the security manager. He was on the plane, and he's written a book, I'll Never Forget You, Free Birds of Southern Rock. And there's also a DVD, I'll Never Forget You, The Last 72 Hours. It's in detail of actually what happened the day before the crash, what went on. And it's Gene Odom, guitar tech Craig Reed, and one of the Honkettes, Leslie Hawkins, if people really want to hear the true story, that's the way to go. And you can get it on Amazon, the book and the DVD.
Okay, well, that's interesting for sure.
But, you know, I was at the show. They did 2 shows before the crash. I was at the show at Lakeland Civic Center on the 19th, and I've still got the ticket stub. It was $7 for the show.
So this is 1977.
Yes, that was their show, and Lakeland, and then they went to Greenville and played a show. And the last 2 songs on the set list were Sweet Home Alabama and Freebird. And then, of course, they left Greenville, South Carolina to go to LSU, Baton Rouge, to do that show and never made it. The plane crashed in Gillsburg, Mississippi. And it's a lot of people probably don't even know the details. There's been so much speculation, but it was quite a horrific crash. And a lot of spectators, they have a memorial there now. You can't go in where the plane crashed, but it's a big monument. People can visit. But, you know, Gene said if they had cleared that wooded area, those pine trees, and they would have landed in the field and probably all survived. Okay. But what happened, they started hitting them tops of them pine trees and it tore the plane apart. But,
ripped it apart.
Anyway, I don't want to get real negative with it, but I want to do since I started it off, I'd like to do the trivia, if you don't mind. I'd like to ask the question, what Leonard Skinner song had whiskey bottles, brand new cars, and an oak tree? If anybody can answer that question, the name of the song, let's test them.
Yeah, I can even sing that one, buddy. That's a classic. Whiskey bottles, brand new car. Yeah. Oak tree in my way. Yeah, that's a good one. Call in if you know those lyrics, if you know the song that goes to, 205-342-9904. That was a very telling song, and I'm going to go ahead and give a little trivia on it. So for the trivia, and that was written in regards to obviously dealing with alcohol abuse, drug use, what it does to you, and what it was doing to the band, right, Larry?
Yes, sir. I'll tell you, drug abuse, they were at the end of their road. That was their tour. They were wore out, and there was a lot of friction in the band, and Gene Odom was hired as security to keep peace in the band. There was drinking, drugs, and they were wore out. They'd already done the Hell tour. And then this one just, they started right back at it. You can look at the photos of the band toward the end, how ragged they looked and how they aged. But that song was for Gary Rossington. The line, Prince Charming, they call you Prince Charming. Gary Rossington wrapped a brand new Torino around the oak tree. Right. And was crippled for a long time. There's photos of him and Ronnie going on the stage, and Gary had a cane. He was very lucky to be alive.
Yeah, and he never, as good a player as he was, you're right, he never had full mobility. I mean, he was always, after that crash, limited on stage in regards to his movements. You notice, even when they called out the mules, it was he never really got full mobility back, did he, Larry?
No, he didn't. And, Gene Odom was disabled to this day. Gene Odom was a Vietnam veteran, and Gene Odom did not drink. That's why Ronnie, that was his childhood friend, his fishing buddy. And Gene tried to keep peace in the band, and it just was falling apart, man. And they really got a bad deal after the crash. The record company didn't do them right, and insurance hadn't been paid. A couple of the honkettes, the one that was on the plane, totally didn't get anything disability like she should have. But anyway, you can read it all in the book. But Gary, they were all messed up after that plane crash. They were in the hospital for months. Gene didn't even know Ronnie was dead. In the DVD, the film, his girlfriend takes him to the cemetery, and he said, well, what? He thought he was going to see Ronnie at his house. he said, "What are we doing here?" And he said, "I'm taking you to see Ronnie." He didn't even know he was dead. I mean, it's really gut-wrenching the way all that went down. And, you know, half of them were in hospital in Mississippi, didn't even know the other who was dead or what for months, you know. So, but anyway, they were a great band, and I know they influenced people in Alabama because they loved Alabama because they wrote, you know.
Oh, Sweet Home Alabama.
I mean, my Lord, they played a lot of gigs over there. People remember any of the original band, that'd be a great, I wish they'd call in and see if, you know, if they remember seeing them.
Well, also, you put out, again, if you know the song that Whiskey Bottles and Brand New Cars, Oak Tree, You're in My Way, Too Much Coke, Too Much Smoke, What's Going On Inside of You, if you know that the song that those lyrics come from, go ahead and give us a call. And we're doing a little Leonard Skinner tribute. It's what's the date again that they went down?
October 20th, be Sunday, 46 years ago.
So we're coming up to the anniversary of the plane crash in Mississippi. So we're doing a little Leonard Skinner segment with Larry Butler. So feel free to call in if you know the trivia answer, or if you just want to call in and talk about Leonard Skinner. Because, you know, you brought up Sweet Home Alabama. Well, first I want to go to Ricky Medlock because, you know, there's no original members left. They've all passed. But Medlock was with them originally. He was the drummer, right, Larry?
Yeah, well, he was the drummer, and there's a lot of, you know, they shunned him out of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There's a lot of that going on. And here's what's going on, Gary, and I don't even like to get into this. A lot of the diehard, it's just like Saban fans, Bear Bryant fans, same thing in music. A lot of the diehard people before 77, they did not accept the Skinner lineup. After Billy passed and Leon passed, there's no original members. Well, you can call Artemis Powell. I've got to include Artemis as a member.
True.
Bob Burns was the original drummer, but Artemis Powell came in that band and really stepped it up on the drums. So I got to say so he's part of the Hall of Fame. I get a little nervous talking about that because I'm going to tell you, man, fans can be ugly, and they can downright cut you down and hurt you just like sports, you know. Mm-hmm. But Medlock is caught. There's people calling for them they're nothing but a tribute band. They need to quit. And, you know, if people enjoy going to hear the songs played good, I don't see anything wrong with it.
Well, I'll be honest with you. When they came back out in '87, and I was living in Jackson, Mississippi, I went to see them at the Mississippi Coliseum, one of their first shows, and Lacey came out and they did the video tribute. And I'll be honest with you, it was a chore for Johnny. He grew into it, but it was now the phones are ringing off the hook, so we'll get to him in a minute. But when he first started performing, first of all, he's following his brother Ronnie. Johnny, he grew into that. He struggled. I remember that concert in particular, you know, forgetting lyrics and just not really looking comfortable and not quite the stage presence that Ronnie had. But he grew into it and has done a great job. But I remember initially, and Alan Collins came out in the wheelchair. I mean, it was a big deal, you know, when they first went back out.
That was in '87, the Coca-Cola sponsored tour.
Right.
The reunion
tour. Yeah. And I never saw the original lineup, but I got to see that lineup and it was a great show. But I thought it took Johnny a while, and I watched him through the years really grow into that role. But initially it was a little rough. All right, listen, we got phone calls lining up now.
Go ahead, Gary.
All right, let's start with the order that they came in. Joe down in Dothan. Go and you punch them through, Chase. I want to make sure I don't cut anybody off. Punch in Joe. Hey, good morning, Joe.
Morning, Gary. Morning, Larry.
Good morning, Joe.
Is the answer to the trivia question that smell?
It is.
Yes, sir.
Great,
great
song. You know, and I was going to ask Larry, maybe, you know, I don't know if it was just because it was the 70s, but, you know, when you try to find some of the old Leonard Skinner concerts, like on YouTube and all, there's really just not a lot out there. There's a few, but it's just I can only seem to find a handful of them. There's not a lot of their old.
You can get, it's like the Allman Brothers, brother. You can get segments. You got to remember this was 8mm back then. And a lot of these old shows, You can search them. There's some Lakeland footage.
There's a good New Jersey concert that's out there.
There's a New Jersey and the BBC live, the old Gray Whistle test.
Mm-hmm.
You can Google that just like that, and you'll see a good lineup, the original band there, even with Bob Burns on drums. So, yeah, you're right there, brother. But, I met all the guys in Albany, Georgia, in the VIP. It was when Huey Thomason of the Outlaws was playing guitar, and it was Billy, Leon, Gary, and they were really sounding good. And they signed a poster for me, and I had it framed. But that was one of the better lineups. But, and I understand fans, they still paying good ticket prices to go hear a band with no original members. So I understand some of the negativity. But if they're playing the songs good, just go enjoy it and remember the band. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I look at it. So,
yeah, absolutely. Band I really love out of Atlanta is Black Crowes. They've broken up and got back together several times. I think.
Oh man, they just played Macon. They did a Macon show, and the reviews were awesome.
Nice. But I've always been a fan of theirs. Big fan.
They're good.
I want to tell you a band to check out from the 70s, Capricorn artist that didn't make it but should have, because Eric Quincy Tate. Tony Joe White found them in Atlanta and produced them. And you're going to hear, if you'll Google just Eric Quincy Tate live, there's a segment, they do a TV show up there. Man, you're going to say, where have I been? How did I miss this band? Because they were every bit as good as the Allman Brothers. And Marshall Tucker and any of them, they just didn't get that break, that we talk about. You get close, but then you're far, So,
absolutely. Well, listen, I really appreciate it, guys. This is one of my favorite segments on the entire channel you guys do. I appreciate it.
Joe. Good to hear from you down there in Dothan. All right, let's punch Mike through, Chase, if you don't mind. Hey, Mike. Good morning.
Hey, Gary. This is Michael. How are you, sir?
Doing well.
Hey, guys. I sent you a text and told you what the name of the song was, and then it sounded like nobody called, so I figured I'd throw in, and I wound up being number 2. But I was going to make the comment that I'm 54, and I didn't start listening to Leonard Skinner probably after I was out of college, and I've always wondered why I missed all that stuff and not getting it the first time around.
Be getting it now.
Hey, man, there's plenty of it out there, brother. Enjoy it, because they left us a good legacy.
I know. You're talking about watching stuff on YouTube and stuff. They're hard to dig up, but they are there. They got some good stuff out there,
Mike,
for sure.
You said you texted. Did you text on the app?
Yeah, it was on the app.
Okay, I'm trying to look for it. Yeah, I got to do a better job of. Let me get to my email here, because I need to read those out. Yeah, because I got to do a better job of getting those. I get so busy. Yeah, I see them coming through now. So yeah, but thanks for getting through. Yep, that's you right there. That Smell is the song from Michael. And ask Larry about the song that Come Into My Kitchen, Allman Brothers. We'll get to that. So I got a few on here we'll get to. But all right, Mike.
Come into my kitchen, cause this rain. Yeah, It's a good one there. Yeah.
Appreciate you, Mike.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you. Go Leonard Skinner. All right, let's get to RV. Punch him through, please, Chase. Because I'm scared. Every time I punch somebody through, we cut both of them off. Hey, RV.
Hey, good morning. I got to call in on this music segment. But,
absolutely.
One thing I wanted to bring up to Larry, thinking about the Atlanta Rhythm section there from Doraville, Georgia. They actually had a song that was a tribute. I think it was the year after the plane crash to Leonard Skinner. And it was does Larry? This is a tribute to him. Does he remember the name of that song?
You may have got me there, brother. I want to say Georgia Rhythm, but I don't think that's it.
No, it's called Large Time.
Oh, okay. My God, yeah, I got that album, Large Time. Yep.
Yep. He was, they were talking about had played with Van Zant and Large Time. It came out the year after that plane crash, but you got me on that, brother. And I'm gonna tell you, my old 71-year-old mind, I totally forgot
forgot about that. But I have that album. That's one of the better songs live. They used to do it.
Yeah.
One of the better live.
That was some great music on that album from Atlanta Rhythm Section that year, like I'm Not Gonna Let It Bother Me Tonight and some other songs like that. But anyway, great tie-in over Leonard Skinner in Atlanta Rhythm Section.
Yeah, it really is. RV, you know your stuff, and all those years spinning those records. You're a great addition to the segment.
Well, RV.
Go ahead.
I did a lot of my work at Studio One. Leonard Skinner's first album was the photo cover was taken in Jonesboro, Georgia, as they were recording. That's right, and I used Robert Nix's drums on many sessions that he used with the Candymen. That same Goldsmith was set of Ludwig's, and Rodney Mills was the engineer, which he's a legendary. But that was all Buddy Bowie's. This all goes back to Alabama's. Man, I always say the line from there, from Muscle Shoals, from the Alabama crew to Atlanta. You know, Buddy had a vision, and he's the one that got the Classics 4 and part of the Candyman to Atlanta.
That's right.
Yeah, I was thinking about that Classic Sport tie-in. A couple of those members helped start Atlanta Rhythm Section, and Spooky. I think Atlanta Rhythm Section did that.
They did
that song after Classic
Sport.
They did.
And they did a killer version, album version of that, a long version. But yeah, man, that's why it happens in Alabama. That's why we started this.
Hey, we got some other callers to get to. RV, great stuff, man. Appreciate you very much.
Yes, sir.
Studio One in Doraville. What a classic recording studio. All right, let's get to Punch Pat through, and we'll save May Larry's significant other for the end. Hey, good morning, Pat.
Hey, good morning, Gary. I just want to say, what do y'all think about this game this weekend? Is Alabama's defensive coordinator and their special teams coach going to actually put together a game plan?
You know what, Pat? I do. I got a good feeling about the defense. I'll go ahead and tell you.
Same here.
I picked it last night on Tider Insider TV, and I picked it 24-20 Bama. I think the defense is going to. To me, that's what Alabama football is all about. Once you start questioning things, they always seem to rise up. Larry, you agree?
I agree, sir. And I'm going to tell you, Pat, you controversial when you picked some of them guys, we called your name out yesterday on Ryan's show. So hang in there, brother. They called it that for reverse psychology.
Even the Tuscaloosa Police Department recognized my voice. I was walking out of the ball game, and I said something. Can we cross it? He said, "You're Pat from Ryan Fowler's show."
How about that?
No, you start with Martin Houston all the way up.
Yeah, celebrity, Pat. That voice, people recognize it. Hey, thank you, Pat.
Yeah, man. But I hope I'm wrong, guys. Hey, but I'm saying 35-28 the opposite way.
Well,
I hope, like I said, the reverse psychology. But now I've got us winning out the rest of the way, getting into the playoffs at 10-2.
Okay, well, whatever works. Maybe that reverse psychology works.
Sitting on the side. Hey, y'all have a blessed afternoon. Larry, you do a fine segment. Have a great day. Bye bye.
Thank you, Pat. Sir. All right, let's close it out. Chase with May, Larry's significant other. All right, May, we held you for last. Did she
I'm on into my kitchen.
She might have got tired of holding. All right, she's gone. So
well, she's at work.
Okay, she probably had to go.
She might have got. Yeah.
Well, we had so many calls, and I wanted to get them on. So it's time.
That's what we want.
Yeah,
that's what we want.
It's time to wrap it up. But great tribute to Skinnerd. Sunday will be the anniversary of the plane crash, the 20th, and we're gonna always remember this band. And I'm with you, Larry. If they still want to tour with Johnny and Medlock and those guys, more power to them, man. I keep the music alive. I don't see why so many people have a problem with it.
Well, It's the same people that are on the board about the way dresses, Gary.
right.
It's just that same mindset. It don't matter what it is.
Looking for
Sports,
something
music,
to complain about. Hey, got to get to break. Thank you, Larry, so much, man.
Thank you, sir.
All right,
Thank y'all.
We got Chase was willing to combine the breaks, but we got time to go ahead and hit our break and come back and get out on time. And I'll come back and read some app messages right after this.
On the next Inside the Locker Room with Coach Wimp Sanderson and Barry Sanderson.
Tune in Thursday, 7:30. We'll talk with J.C. Sherbert. We'll go around the SEC with J.C. In the second hour, we'll go up to Knoxville, Tennessee. We'll talk to Russell Bibbin. We'll find out what the Tennessee Volunteers are doing to get ready for the Alabama Crimson Tide to come up. We'll also take your phone calls throughout the show. Everything's brought to you by Yellowwood. If it doesn't have that,
experience the wow factor. Contact Shoot Masonry and Specialties at 205-887-3807 today and unleash your home's full potential.
The Alabama Securities Commission protects you from financial fraud. Anyone asking you for investment money must be licensed. You're careful with your money. Fraudsters aren't. Before you invest, call our hotline at 1-800-222-1253 to verify the licensing of the person making an offer and the product. Don't
or enjoy free shipping to your home on purchases over $25. Your new Academy Sports and Outdoor store is located at 4610 U.S. Highway 280 in Birmingham.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Cool and dry today with a sunny sky, the high 62. Rather chilly tonight, clear, the low 39. Maybe some scattered light frost early tomorrow morning. Tomorrow and Friday, sunny both days. The high tomorrow is 67, the high Friday at 70. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 54 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Never miss a moment of the action. Download the free Tide 100.9 app today.
It's time to wind it down. A couple of app messages. Michael called in with the That Smell, the song by Leonard Skinner. And Jerry from Manchester, Tennessee, app messaged me, asked Larry about the song Come to My Kitchen by the Allman Brothers. We'll get it. We mentioned it briefly. We'll ask him more about it next week. Nate in Conyers, Georgia had texted in a couple days ago. I've never been to a Bama game and would love to see one up close. This would be a dream come true for me and my wife. Well, maybe that will happen soon. All right, thanks to everybody for listening. Reminder to catch me on TV tonight with your local sports, and back here tomorrow for the Thursday edition of the Gary Harris Show at 9 a.m. I'll be live from the R&R Cigar Mansion downtown. Cigar Week, right, with Tennessee and Alabama. I'll be there live. We'll have a great lineup of guests, so tune in then. All right, T-Town Sports Daily with Chase and Wyatt is coming up next. Have a great day, everybody.